Howdy, folks. It is National Women's Day today. It is the 9th of August. It's a Tuesday. It's a public holiday, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to be speaking to you today because we've studied our cards overnight. Neil Andrews joining me. Nice to have you on the show, Neil, again. And yeah, we've got a busy day today, you and I, because we're going to the ceremony for Alistair and Candice a bit later on, which should be good fun this afternoon.
Yeah, very nice. Their wedding day today, and we'll get to it later. They might have a winner. She trains it, and Alistair owns it. Yes,
yeah.
It'll be lovely if that all comes to pass, and it's certainly a runner. But we'll get to that later.
I think they scheduled the actual ceremony bang on the money because that starts at 2. The race is at 3:10, so it's all been thought of in terms of the timing. I'm sure there'll be wherever there will be a television somewhere, and everyone will be screaming.
Yeah,
3:10.
That I think you're right. Yes.
Okay, Neil. Well, it's a pitiful card. I have to say that because the size of the fields is poor. But that said, there's still options to take, and we're going to be talking about those options right now. Let's run through it. The first race of 8 is a 10-1. It's a qualified maiden over 1,000 meters. You can scratch number 1, Gitana, who's now out, and number 4, Silver Winter, is Gavin Lorena because JP Denemev is still on the sidelines. Just a couple of equipment changes. Number 2, Queen's Navy, Elamites in front, shot behind, and number 7, Heartlight, is blinkers on. So the short price favorite is Silver Winter at 5.5 to 10, Neil.
Yeah, and I think Gavin Lorena is a good replacement. Blinkers go on. I mean, pedigree-wise, you don't get much better. She's a daughter of Water Winter out of a Silvano mare. But there's been others that have shown some form in the race. Number 5, Miss Soho, has got some form. Nellie Bly at the bottom has some form. And even Southern Style, who we spoke of last time, they're named after the Alana Miles song.
That's right.
And I think something tells me, Nico, I've known you for many, many years, but I think number 7 is named after one of your favorite songs. Aren't you a big Neil Diamond Heartlight song? That was the E.T. song.
That's the E.T. song. I was very
I remember going back 20 years. You used to love that song. You used to sing, "Turn on your heart light."
Like with this, Neil.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's got blinkers on. I think that might improve, but I thought it rested between 4 and 5 were my 2 here. Now, Silver Winter beat Miss Soho comfortably when they ran against Stormy Lass on debut, beat it by 3 lengths. There's nothing really to suggest that it'll turn the form around. So I do believe it is the worthy favorite, and I think Silver Winter will go close to winning that first race. I made it between 4 and 5, Neil. I thought it was pretty simple in that first race. But as you say, there are a few clapping at the heels behind it. Okay, we'll move on to the second. Race 1 is the start of the bipod. Race 2 starts with the place accumulator. By the way, we have done a take a bet show later on. We've focused on the first jackpot today in our show. The second is another maiden qualified over 1,000 meters. I think this is the biggest field of the day at 11 runners at the moment. And in the second, number 6, Kite Surfer, no blinkers. Number 10, Above the World, has a compression mask fitted. So Above the World is the favorite, 18 to 10. Lebanese Pound, number 5, after a great day for Paul Peter on a Saturday with 5 winners, is at 9 to 4. That's the Paul Peter at 9 to 4. After that, number 1, Earl of Cardigan, 7 to 1. And number 8, Beltway, I missed out in the betting at 11 to 2. What did you think?
Well, the key is the Cool Winter Run, where number 10, Above the World, did beat Lebanese Pound, but beat Lebanese Pound by a length and a quarter. Now, Rachel Viernicke takes 1.5 kilograms off, which would bring Lebanese Pound right into the race purely on that run. So although Above the World remains my first choice because of the Sweet Pepper and Cool Winter Run, I think you've got to respect Lebanese Pound. Plus, to be fair, Nico, I mean, whenever you see Paul Peter, you've got to upgrade him in your mind. You've got to say, because there's always coming up later on. Is it Vanderbilt? I mean, just go and have a look what he's done with Vanderbilt. I mean, Vanderbilt's arrived. It's gone from being Vanderbilt to just shy of Jet Dark. I mean, it's incredible. So the Paul Peter factor, like it or not, just reason says you've got to upgrade them. You've got to give them, in your own handicapping mind, a vote of confidence. So I'm going marginally 10-5, but yeah, I don't think there'll be much between them.
I agree with that. The only one name that I wanted to throw into after those is number 6, Kite Surfer, because of the equipment change. They've taken the blinkers off. I've looked at some of those runs without the blinkers. It's not pretty, but that said, the one run behind Spielberg, Neil, was a good run with Grayling on. And if it reproduces that sort of run, it could be the lurker in the pack Kite Surfer without the blinkers today, 10-1. So that I'll be looking at closely. But like you, I feel there's very little between Lebanese pound and above the world. And Rachel, to her credit, has bounced quickly from that fall at Turffontein on Saturday to ride a winner on Sunday, the very next day, with Michael Roberts' horse in the first race, which she won pretty well on. I think it was something Slim Yanni. And did you hear Adam Kethro, the winning owner, after the race, how it was named?
No.
It was actually named after Jan Smuts, Neil. And
yes, that was his nickname, wasn't it?
The Anglo-Boer War, I think it was, where they nicknamed him Slim Yanni.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great general, Jan Smuts, and a very good friend of Winston Churchill's. Nico, just coming back to Kite Surfer, yes, on the typeset run, he's not that far behind Lebanese Pound, so I think you might be right.
Yeah.
And yeah, he might be a lurker in the race, certainly from a value perspective. But yeah, we wish Rachel all the best. Yeah, she's been unfortunate in recent times, tumbling off a couple of others, but I'm sure she'll be hanging on to everything, the mane and everything, to just to stay on board these horses.
Okay, let's move on to the third today, which is the start of the pick 6. It's the middle stakes over 1,160 meters. Scratch here now, Neil, is a late change. Number 5, Vasilikos is out, which is now with the Young Janssen Insurance Stables. Hence why Cabello's now hopped aboard the 6 Corvette Captain. So that's the change there. Now, this was when we did chat earlier. I must admit, we did have a bit of a chat earlier before we came on air about the meeting here. And whilst this race, Neil, appears extremely clear-cut at Faroe Winter at 8-10 and Tuscan Winter 13-10, and very much a 2-horse race, I, studying last night, thought anything but. And you did too.
I think, no, I did. I'm shocked to see the betting, to be honest, because I felt Corvette Captain had a chance, and now that JP van der Merwe has been replaced by a very capable and informed Cabello, I haven't changed my opinion there. And I think we both think that number 1, Wally, or Whirly, whichever you prefer, brings all the class to the race, and it does suit in this middle stakes. He's an 11-time winner. I think he'll run well.
Absolutely. When you look at the races he's contested, I mean, even I went back, Neil, the run to the one run here where he finished quite well back. I think it was the last run actually, but to Kayla's champ, Neil. I mean, you know, if you go back and have a look, I'm going to try and get that up on the side here. But if you go back and look at that race, Neil, the horses that ran ahead of him that day were all very, very, very good horses. A lot better than Tuscan Winter or Faraway Winter, put it that way. I'm just trying to call it up over here. I'll tell you which the horses were. I'm not going to show it to you because that'll take time. But if you go to the last run, here's the horses that were in front of him. Gallic Princess, Vasim, Ultra Magnus, Mardi Gras, Bard of Avon, Chimichurri Run, Al Sakit. I mean, Al Sakit beat him by a length and a half. And he beat, Whirly beat Smorgasbord. So
yeah,
you'd be foolish to leave Whirly out, even though that's the biggest outside in the field of 5 runners now.
Yeah, well, if there is some collateral form here. Admittedly, you've got to go back to the 28th of October, but it does illustrate the point. You go to the 28th of October in a race where Captain Hindsight won. Whirly was carrying 62.5, and Tuscan Winter was carrying 52.5. So Whirly was giving him 10 kilograms and finished, 6 lengths in front. 6 lengths in front, and here is giving 2 kilograms.
Yeah.
So, and that's not a fluke run, because if you use Bowie, who that run, by the way, if you want to have a look, is the 11th of December. When Whirly ran 4 lengths behind Bowie, he was giving Bowie 11 kilograms. Whereas when Tuscan Winter got beaten by Bowie, he was only getting 1 kilogram. So there's a 10-kilogram swing again there, and Wooly Wooly was effectively 4 lengths behind. So on a line through Bowie, 6 lengths better.
Yeah, if you look at that, if you look at that run that you're talking about with Captain Hindsight, Neil, Tuscan Winter, and particularly the same circumstances, was 8 to 10, and Whirly Whirly was 16 to 1.
Yeah, it's very similar again. Yeah.
So anyway, so that I don't trust the race, and I think that you'll be foolish to just look at the betting here. Just quickly about Faraway Winter, we labelled him last time out because Michael Azzi actually had lunch with him, and he told me it would win. I obviously haven't had lunch with him prior to today, a couple of days ago, but I think it's a huge step up for him.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, he's a one-time winner. He's taking on Whirly Whirly, who we said is an 11-time winner. I mean, he's obviously upwardly mobile, where Whirly Whirly's career is not quite at the Rouge Allure stage, but he's had a lot of racing. But yeah, they're different profiles completely. Faraway Winter will be quick, but you're right. He's really going to be dropped into the deep end against Tuscan Winter. He's a 3-time winner. Corvette Captain's a 3-time winner, getting weight from him. Yeah, I agree with you. And the bottom line, Nico, is we're both thinking a little bit out of the box in that race.
Okay, let's move on to race number 4, which is a fillies and mares 70 handicap over 1,160 meters. This is the start of the first jackpot. I'll quickly go to the latest changes here. Scratch number 10, Sabrina Fairchild, who's been sold. It says they're sold, so that's gone. And then number 2, Scotta D2 has blinker pacifiers on, and the compression mask comes off. Number 2, Scotta D2. The money's for number 6, Baby Don't Hurt Me, because Muzi Yeni rode tremendously well for Paul Peter on Saturday, 3 winners together. This is shortened from 3 to 1, or 33 to 10 actually, into 5 to 2. So that's the money horse. They've got 7 to 2 twice as wild, number 4, 4 to 1, number 8, Letitia's Angel, and 9 to 2, number 3, Feather the Nest. This looked pretty open, being a fillies and mares 70 handicap. I think you'll agree.
Yeah, I think it does look open. We're going to shop a little bit wider in the jackpot because I think you have to. Having said that, Baby Don't Hurt Me is my clear first choice because, as you said, Muzi and Paul Peter, both of them at the top of their game at the moment. The season came and went for Paul Peter, and he didn't bat an eyelid, as you mentioned. Started off with 5. Muzi's kicked off as he left off, had a great season. I was at Grable on Friday night when he rode 1,999, then 2,000, and then quickly 2,001. So back 3 at the GTH Global Team Horse Racing first meeting, and of course captained his team to victory. So he's on top of the world, and all of that makes her, Baby Don't Hurt Me, my first choice. But if she were to fluff her lines, then I agree with you, Nico. It's a very open race. I know you like a bit of 9, Red Carpet Girl.
Yeah, I did like that a bit. I thought off 56 kilos that she was extremely competitive. I think she's a lot better than a horse like Scotta D2. And even Letitia's Angel, Neil, this is one of your favorites, I think. Last time out, she won. She was backed quite heavily from 9 to 2 into 5 to 2. And of course, Roger the Dodger came up and franked that form line by running second on Saturday in that last race. So I think that I'll be saying that Baby Don't Hurt Me has got a huge chance because of the combination. And I think Muzi is trying to impress as much as possible because, as I explained to him, but he quite rightly retorted back. I said, well, the big fish are all away. So he says, what are you saying? I'm not a big fish. Which is very clever because he is one of the big fish, actually. He's one of the top 5 guys in the country. But I just was trying to intimate to him when I did the interview that whilst the other big names are out of town, he's trying to make a lasting impression. In other words, while the cat's away, the mice will play, and that's what it looks like. So therefore, he's trying to boot home as many as possible.
Yeah, and he's got an excellent chance there again. I've already mentioned Paul Peter, how you have to upgrade it. Anything trained by Paul Peter. So it's my first choice. But as I said, beyond that, does look a bit trappy. But for me, Baby Don't Hurt Me.
Okay, that's the 4th race. Let's move on to race 5. This is a merit-rated 74 handicap. It's over 2,000 meters. The scratching here is number 3, Lashawis, which is out of the contest. I see it's under suspension, so that's not going to be running today. Looking at the betting now, Neil, it's 9-4 the pair. Banner Bridge is 9-4. So too is number 1, The Brief, at 9-4. So they are joint favourites. Number 5, Pottinger, 7-2, and number 4, Cool Bikel, is at 4-1. Well, as you mentioned at the top of the show, we're all hoping for Alistair, his parents, who will be at the wedding a bit later on, Candice Dawson, the whole team that Banner Bridge goes close. I like the last run. I thought it was a upwardly fair run. It seems to be coming to form. I thought that was the horse to beat, but again, it looks a bit tricky after that. But we're all hoping for Banner Bridge today.
Yeah, I think Banner Bridge will run well. No doubt about that. He looks pretty well in off 56, and I like the booking of Cabello on him. He's been riding particularly well. But I must say that I enjoyed Rod Beckers's summation of the race because he was right about one thing with The Brief. I mean, on exposed form, I would try and beat him, but what he did do, which was impressive last time, The Brief, was a completely different running style, and Gavin dropped him out, and it was actually quite impressive the way he swept on by. So I'm sure that Gavin will ride him again, and exactly the same style, and he might have improved because of the way Gavin rode him. And I think that that's what Rod actually said. He said here that, however, the latter was ridden with restraint last time and found a late turn of foot. So I'm keeping that in the back of my mind. It's not in my first 3, The Brief, but I wouldn't be surprised if they ride him the same way and he quickens, because that was quite good to see. But for me, it is Banner Bridge. Again, I'm coming back to the Muzieni and Paul Peter story. Pottinger, I think will benefit from Muzzy going up handy. I don't think he's going to hang around with 57 on his back. He is getting a bit of weight from The Brief. He's getting 3.5, so I think he'll make use of that. And it's a small field, Nico, so the pace of the race could be quite interesting. And he could steal it from the front, could Muzzy on Pottinger.
Yeah. August Leaves, by the way, is written by Jeff Saister. That's a jockey change for Robin Klaassen. I thought Cool Bikel had a chance. I didn't like this race. Immeasurable has to get mentioned too, because he's another strong front runner, Neil. On his day, if he runs strongly up front, he could get away from them under Calvin Habib, who's ridden him a couple of times before. So that's a possibility too. We're hoping Banner Bridge. So for me, it's Banner Bridge or anything. Yeah. In that. Okay, the 6th that we're going on to next is a novice handicap. It's over 1,600 meters. Any changes in race 6? Number 6, Lord of Lights jockey, is now Cabello Matsunyani. That's been confirmed as Cabello. Tongue Tie goes on number 2, High Moon. Let's start off there, High Moon. Neil, 4-1 is the price of him. He looks to have the come on. Look, not drawn well last time, but it was a good run. He's drawn much better at 2.
Yeah, and he's run behind some nice horses. He's run behind, if you go back to his Cape Town form, Malinga Longa, Irish Tractor, who's come up here and won a few. One Way Traffic's a good stayer. Senso Unico is not a bad animal at all. He was considered good enough to run in the likes of the Derby and the Daily News, etc. And Rex Union ran 3rd, I think, in the Gold Cup. So he's tumbled down, Nico. He was an 81. He's now a 71. He's got the tongue tie on. As you say, I'd ignore the last run, although it was a good run from the draw. He's got to be a runner. So he would be my each way play in the race, number 2, High Noon. But guess what? I come back to Paul Peter and Muzieni again. And, I'm not leaving them out of anything today.
Correct. Yeah, Karapi, strong front runner on his day. He gets Muzieni up front. I just see Yeni taking this one to the front. He's a very strong son of Elusive Fortune. He likes going off to the front, Neil, over 1,600 meters. It might be the one to catch. High Moon quickly, Neil, that Rex Union run. Just to put it into perspective, Rex Union is rated now 105, Neil. So if you go on that, if Rex Union is rated 105 and he gave 2 kilos and ran 4 lengths back, it means he's a lot better than a 71 on his day. So that definitely was a note to strike. The other one, number 1, About to Storm, I have to mention because it's favourite. About to Storm is 5-2, Neil. 62.5. Wow. A lot of weight.
He'll have to be pretty good to win. I'm not saying he can't win with 62.5. Of course he can. He's a give me the green light with some good form, but he's shipping a lot of weight out here. He's shipping 6 kilograms to High Moon. and he's shipping 6.5 to Karapi. Sure, bring his A game.
Yeah.
No, it's not for me. Certainly not at the odds anyway. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if he can win, but I wouldn't be rushing to the bank to take 5-2.
So you and I pretty much are thin on the ground there in terms of our selections. We like 2 and 3. We think that the winner will come from 2 or 3 there in that space. Let's move on to race 7. It is a merit-rated 84 handicap. It's over 1,600 meters. Scratch chairs number 7, My Masters, a non-runner. That's the change in the 7th. Well, Vanderbilt, you mentioned at the top of the show, short at 12-10 to win the 4th race in a row for Suzette and Barcy. And they were here on Saturday. And in fact, I had a brief chat to Suzette. They happened to just be in town, but they were, after the races, going to look at all their horses at Turffontein. They were going to, as they do, they were going to do a tour of the Turffontein stables after the meeting on Saturday. And I'm sure that one of the places they stopped at was good old Vanderbilt, who provided Paul Peter with that record-breaking number of wins in the season when it beat Bayesier comfortably last time out. So that's favourite, Neil. Looks to win again, but there are chances for a few others.
Yeah, I mean, he just keeps improving, Vanderbilt. He's the son of Water Winter. Not the first son of Water Winter I've spoken about today, but the mother we'll all remember, cherry on the cake. It's a great Wilkebos Drift Fontein family. So to that end, I'm not surprised that he's improved because he's got a pedigree that suggested he would. However, he's gone from a 65 to an 81 in merit rating, which shows you how much he has improved. And boy, has he improved, because when he's won, not only when he won the maiden, but then last time, I mean, he's absolutely put them to the sword. And he could continue to improve, but the brain does tell you that from a 65 to an 81, he by rights shouldn't be. The handicapper should have got him a little bit now. I doubt if he win by 3. So the form horse when I say the form horse, the handicapped horse is number 6, Mkombezi, because if you go back to the 9th of June run, Mkombezi got beaten 0.2, so he's right on top of Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's gone up 5 kilograms, and Mkombezi's gone down 3.5. It's an 8.5 kilogram turnaround for 0.2. Now, math and handicapping will tell you there's almost no ways that Vanderbilt can frank that form and beat Mkombezi again, unless he has improved. Well, we can work it out. He's got to have improved by 7.5 lengths.
Yeah, there's one factor in there that you haven't said. Well, Vanderbilt was ridden by Sasibo on that occasion. You've got to factor that in as well.
Yeah, but I mean, he claimed his 4 because of that. And that's part of the reason why he's out. Yeah, I know what you're saying, though. Yeah, I know what you're saying without saying it. You're saying was he worth a few more lengths than young Mr. Sasibo. That is true. But even so, I mean, Mkombezi very well in. But the question is, as you say, how has Vanderbilt improved? But I don't think the race necessarily ends off there, Nico. I think that Wolf's World might be a bit of value, because if you go back to some collateral form with the likes of Oyster King and so forth, behind Duke of Sussex and Imperial Master, Wolf's World's not without a shout. I think he's probably got a bit too much weight, because he's got to carry 58 as well, which is why I prefer Mkombezi. But if Vanderbilt fluffs his lines, well, he doesn't have to fluff his lines. I mean, the point is that he's handicapped to get beaten, actually.
Yes, he is.
By Mkombezi.
He could very well do it. I'm glad you mentioned Wolf's World, because Heather Adamson pulled me aside at the race on Saturday and said, "You never mention my horses." She said, "You didn't mention the one that ran second, Speechmaker. You didn't mention Lashawi's that won the other day." And she's right, we didn't mention them, but we're mentioning Wolf's World, not because she said, "Why don't you mention horses?" But if we don't like horses, we're not going to mention them for the sake of mentioning them. We have also not mentioned lots of other horses that have run down the field. But the point being, we do like Wolf's World a bit. We've put it in our jackpot. We do like it on form. It ran to the stable companion last time. I think it's got a chance. I think it's certainly coming back to its best form. Eskimo Pie is another one, Neil, that we didn't mention, or you didn't mention, that we thought had a chance on the last run. It has to ship a lot of weight to the others, but as you quite rightly say, Kabisi is probably the best weighted horse in the race in terms of what we see. And I think it's open. I don't think Vanderbilt is a 12-10 chance, but it may well win.
Yeah, again, Paul Peter Muzieni, you can't play against him. I certainly won't be leaving them out, but Incompesi is my first choice.
Okay, that's the 7th. Let's move on to the lucky last. The 8th and last runs at 20-5. It's a classified stakes over 1,400 meters. Before you chat, Neil, let's just look at the changes here. Joshua Solomons, who's riding so well, has the rider now on Java House. So put Joshua Solomons now on number 9, Java House. That's the jockey change. And number 1, Iceman Cometh, will have a tongue tie fitted. This is very interesting. I thought this was a nice race to get involved in, actually.
Yeah, at the time of us broadcasting, number 7, Freedom of Choice, still runs, Nico. She parted ways with Rachel Vernicker on the weekend, as you reminded me.
Yeah.
So one assumes that, well, obviously Rachel's riding and subsequently ridden a winner, and Freedom of Choice appears to be okay if she's going to take her chances here. And if she does, I think she's a runner. Rachel's not riding today. Muzzy takes over, but she's had the likes of Caden Brewer and when he was an apprentice, and Sasibo riding. And a senior rider in the form of Muzzy takes over. It's Paul Peter again. What price is it? 8-1.
And so the favourites, the stable companion Silver Stardust, is immediately above it in the race card at 13-10. I thought that was skinny for Silver Stardust. 13-10.
Well, yeah, and it's also a classified stakes race, Nico. So it does favour, the conditions of the race favour the fillies, which leads us on to perhaps talk about some other roughies. Java House, you mentioned Solomon's rides. We don't want to dwell on how many days, because every time the poor thing runs, I go on and how many days it is since the last one, now how very patient the owners have been. Well, we're up to 782 days, but I think she'll run well today, Java House, funnily enough. I think she's got blinkers on, and this is the kind of race where I think she can be effective going handy. But number 8, Meet the Captain's another one who hasn't been well drawn a couple of times of late, and now races from a 2 draw. So I, like you, thought that there was you could get involved in here a little bit. There's a bit of money for Pettigrew's horse, number 4, Southern Blaze. Yeah, I think there's some room to wiggle here for punters.
I think there is too. I thought you mentioned the 2 fillies, or the 3 fillies down at the bottom. I think being a classified stakes race, you have to respect all of them. Freedom of Choice, funny enough, with Muzieni, I just put just strange. I've said, to put Muzieni on this, it seemed to be strange. They didn't know that it was going to fall. It was obviously carded before that. But it's taking its place as at 8:30 when we're doing this show. It is still a runner. So I thought that the fillies needed all to be included. The other one I did want to add to all of yours was Duel at Dawn, number 2. Keeps on coming out at me, Duel at Dawn. I mean, he's only had 9 runs as a 6-year-old. So, for Sean to have kept him in training, there's got to be a reason why. That Run to Escape Artist was the only one that struck out at me that it had some sort of bearing on the result. I'm not going to leave it out at 14-1. I'm going to include that one too. But I didn't like that last race particularly. So I'm going pretty wide in my firms. I think, as you quite rightly say, I think a filly may well win that race today. Okay, Neil, that's our take on today. You're still going to look at a price booster later on, which you'll put up through the various channels. We'll obviously discuss that. I think I'm leaning towards also we mentioned earlier on that's a very big price in a small field, but I'm going to leave that up to you. But we've done a take a bet jackpot 1 today, and we've gone pretty wide in the earlier legs, but we've gone thinner later on. Thanks so much, Neil. We'll chat again during the course of the week or whenever, but we'll continue on our duties. No racing tomorrow, by the way, folks. There's no South African racing tomorrow. It's another rest day. We're back on Thursday with racing at the Vaal.
Thanks, Nico.